Hello, hello. How are we? Welcome back to another episode of Not Just Revenue. We're on episode 38, which is super fun. I'm also super proud of myself for being this consistent. Now, did I hope that I would have more episodes by now? Yes, but also I have to make those episodes. And the fact that I have been posting consistently, like a weekly episode since the beginning of this year, is mad to me. So claps for me. And if you have been listening along this entire time, claps for you. Well done. And thank you to everyone recently who has been listening. I have really enjoyed seeing my stat of the podcast recently. A few things that I've one is a little challenge that I want to set myself, and the other one is just what I've been noticing. So the challenge I want to set myself is that I have at least one listen every single day. That is my new thing. There are no days where my stats say 0. I'd be happy even if it's 1. I care. I'm not making, going mental here. But yeah, every single day. And I know that for me, that means publicizing it more. I definitely don't publicize it. And I know that you, my listeners, are probably my warmest and closest audience. I know a lot of you already, and I would consider us business friends, which is lovely. And thank you so much for being here. But also I want to get new people, so you can help me with that. If you listen to this podcast and you find it really useful, then I would love for you to share it with your friends and your peers. And the other thing data-wise is I'm noticing that my older episodes are getting a few more listens, which obviously I understand why that happened because they're there. And so when people go back and look at what you posted, and I'm finding I don't know how I feel about it, basically, because that was a past iteration of the business, and everything I do in that version of the business I still do now. It's just reframed and repositioned. And so I know when I think about it logically, I'm like, it is okay. But my episode, What the Hell is Six-Figure Safety, has one of the highest listens. And I don't sell that offer anymore. I'm like, shit. But I don't want to get rid of the episode because it gets rid of the cadence, the numbering system we have going on. I could maybe re-record the audio and just add a little intro to it, probably, and just update it. Be like, hey, I don't sell this offer anymore. But I kind of do, but it's now called something else. It's now called Revenue to Wealth, and it's a 1-to-1. Okay. I don't know. Maybe I'll do that. Let me know if you've had something similar and what you decided to do. This week, I want to challenge your belief around not being a numbers person. And I don't just mean from a maths or a money point of view. I'm just talking numbers in general. And the reason why I want to bring this to you today is because it's ultimately numbers in business are something we cannot ignore them. Business is numbers. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, but business is numbers, right? You know that maybe before you became a business owner, you watched things like Dragon's Den, and on Dragon's Den, if they came there and they didn't know their numbers, girl, they were not walking away with that investment. And so if they wanted to grow their business, if they wanted investment in their business, they needed to know the numbers. And not only know the numbers, they needed to understand them. And you could tell that when someone was maybe just reading numbers off a script or had memorized the numbers, because then when they were pinched a bit more about why are those numbers, how and why, why does that make sense for your business? 'Cause every business is different. So every business is going to have different numbers, and every number is going to have a different context for every business. Even just revenue, right? So if one of the dragons was okay, I mean, that sounds great. How were you able to do that? Tell me more about that revenue growth, or where did you start to see that growth? Did you have a loss to begin? If they're asking these questions, you're just I actually don't know because I don't really do numbers. Well, you also don't really do business investment then. You obviously don't do business growth then. You obviously don't do... No, come on, guys. Come on. So numbers are really, really important within our business. that's like a non-starter, right? And there's a few reasons why having this belief of like, oh, I'm not a numbers person, like even is something like just a comment that you throw out there occasionally whenever you're kind of like given a number question. Maybe it's your accountant that's reaching out to you. Maybe it's a peer that's asked you about a certain thing within your business. You just kind of go, oh, I don't know. Like, I'm not really a numbers person. The amount of damage that is doing to both you and your business, and actually potentially like in that situation, like your peer, if it is a peer that's come to you, is it unqualifiable, because we just don't know how deep the damage is going to go. And it can go really far. And so let's get into why or how saying things or believing things like, I'm just not a numbers person, is preventing your business growth. Okay, so I paused very quickly there because I wanted to write down the ways in which, well, basically all the thoughts in my head around this phrase and how I think it does damage. And I actually realized that in what I was writing down is that numbers touch every single part of your business. You cannot get away from numbers within your business. And so I say this with so much love. You can't not be a numbers person if you're going to be a business owner, if you're going to be self-employed, if you're going to be a freelancer. I don't care what you call yourself, okay? Like, okay, but you are in control of your own income. And so that is money. Money is numbers. You need to understand your numbers. So you do not have the luxury of not being a numbers person, okay? You just don't have that luxury. And what I see time and time again is people holding this belief, and obviously let's look at the main area in your business, right, in which this is going to affect is ultimately your money and your cash flow. What will happen is someone who's not a numbers person will outsource, right? They'll go, well, accountants exist, bookkeepers exist, fractional financial directors exist, CFOs exist, right? And so they offhand it to them, okay? And it feels like a really grown-up decision because that's probably not a small investment. And so the fact that you've been able to afford that investment and make that decision probably feels really good, yeah? But what happens is you still don't understand your numbers, okay? What happens is you offhand your numbers to someone else. They are making sense of them, making sense of your numbers for them. And that does not make sense in your brain. So then when they come back to you with a report or with questions, that just fills you with more guilt, more shame, and more anxiety. Okay. And you end up avoiding them, and you end up just kind of like nodding along or just going along with whatever. And then you realize that you're spending all of this money and you have no idea what the return is. But you're also now too scared to get rid of them because at least they're kind of doing something for you, whereas you were doing nothing. And also, if you get rid of them, maybe you think then there's like the people pleasery nature, right, of coming in and getting rid of a team member or, ending a contract with someone and not wanting them to think badly of you. And see how none of that's helped. I do think you can outsource to any number of those people that I just mentioned. But the important step is that you understand your numbers first, and you're more outsourcing to them from like a capacity point of view of like, I don't really have time to be dealing with this, but I understand the numbers. So you go and deal with them and then obviously report back to me. And then that report is going to help me, the business owner, make better decisions in my business. Okay. Because I understand what's going on. Right. So that's money and cash flow. But everything in business is money and cash flow. Everything you do in business is to make money so that you can pay yourself, so that you can live your life, so that you can pay your bills, okay? That is what business is, okay? That is what being your own boss is. You are in control of your income. And if you are in control of your income, you need to understand your numbers, okay? You need to understand money, right? You do not have the luxury of not doing that, of being like, oh, I'll figure it out later. Bitch, there's not going to be a later if you don't understand it, because you're going to go out of business, right? And I'm saying it forcefully because I want you to be in business. I want this to work for you. I want you to make hella money. I want you to be able to pay yourself. I don't want money to be a stressor in your life. But for money to not be a stressor in your life, I need you to listen to me, right? I need you to work with someone like myself who is going to help you understand your numbers, who is going to help you grow your income. And I get really passionate about it because it's so plain and so obvious to see. And it's the first thing that people put off because it feels scary, right? Absolutely. It feels scary. It feels like, well, if I work with Emily, she's going to know I'm not good with numbers. Like, well, yeah, duh. That's why my job exists, right? Whenever clients come to me and they learn all this, they're like, oh my God, I can't believe I never knew this before. I can't believe like this isn't taught. I can't believe no one else is talking about this, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, bitch, if they were, I'd be out of a job. So I don't want you to feel bad that you don't know any of this stuff and that you maybe are not a numbers person. There's no reason to feel bad about that. Like, no one has ever taught you. No one has ever talked about it, right? And so, of course, you need to learn. Of course, right? So I don't want you to feel bad about it. I also want you to know that there are so many business owners out here who, okay, we all talk about our wins online. Of course we do. We all want to share our wins, our client wins, all of that. It's good for business. It's good for business. It makes us feel good. It's all these things and more. There are so many business owners out there, namely business coaches and sales coaches and all of those kind of coaches, because those ultimately are the people who are making money or making money by helping other people make money. And so they typically will have these bigger wins and they will typically be talking about these bigger wins a lot more frequently than, say, I don't know, an Instagram coach. I'm just putting numbers out there, putting names out there. I know for a fact, because I've worked with some of them. I've worked with the big name coaches. I know their numbers. I know the numbers of this industry inside and out. And you won't see me talking about their wins and their testimonials because they all want to be anonymous, which is absolutely fine. You know, they totally get it. Fine, girl. What's important is that you do now know. But I can tell you with complete confidence that so many people are like, yes, they can make sales, right? Sales is just psychology, right? They've learned psychology. Well done. I did a psychology A level too. They've read a book or two on sales. They can do the whole sales thing, right? They can bring the money in. Girl, they have tax debt, consumer debt, credit card debt coming out of their ear holes. They have partners subsidizing them. They barely pay themselves anything. They're kind of like, or if they are draining their business dry because they're just taking money out of their business willy-nilly because they don't understand anything. But they can still put all these claims online that they've made X amount of money because they have. But the bit that actually matters today, they don't have it sorted. And so when you see other people doing well online, please take a beat to just think to yourself, like, okay, they are clearly good at making sales. Great. We all love that. Pop off queen. I want to make more sales, of course. But I don't know that they're keeping all that money. I don't know that they're paying themselves well enough. I don't know. You just don't know. Also, because you don't know if they know their numbers. You don't know if they're talking about revenue, cash flow, sales. You don't know. They're just throwing some big old numbers out there because it looks good. So we've kind of addressed this whole thing of how business and self-employment is all, you know, it's all about money. It's all about making money. Even if you say it isn't, you can say you have a value-based business. That's cool, but values don't pay your bills. You need money. And so you need to understand your money so that you can pay yourself, grow a retirement plan, do all those things. Ultimately, you need to know about money so that you can grow your business. But as I kind of said going into this episode, this is not just about money, right? Yes, money is the kind of the holy grail, the purpose of business and self-employment. And it's all for money. It's all for making more money. That is the purpose of everything in business. And all these things I'm going to be talking about is the numbers behind making more money. But this is why actually owning and learning and trying to become a numbers person and knowing that doesn't mean you don't have to understand algebra. Like, I cannot do mental maths. I've got a calculator on my phone. I have Google, right? I have spreadsheets. All of my spreadsheets exist. All of my tools exist because I cannot do mental maths and I have a question and I want to know the answer to a question. So I build a tool to help me answer it. That is what I do. That's how I got here. That is my whole thing. I am not a financial expert. I have not been a financial expert for the last 6 years. I did not pass a financial advice qualification because I'm good at math. No, it's because I understand how money works, right? Totally different things. So, numbers. Knowing that I am not a numbers person, but that is not an identity. Like, I can now distinguish that identity from, say, being good with money. Like, I have learned that. But for a lot of people, that's very intertwined. And so that's why I'm talking about, I want you to almost disregard this entire belief system that you have around not being good with numbers because it is not serving you in your business. So let's talk about where numbers touches your business, right? Okay, so it's day dot, right? It's day one of starting your business, of going self-employed. First thing you need to do, work out how much money you need to take home. Okay, there's a number. That's the maths you've had to do. Okay, now you've got this goal, right? You've got this revenue goal. You've worked out what your working pattern is, what days you're going to work, how long you're going to work, maybe how many clients you're going to have. If you don't do that, don't worry. All of this is the very first thing that I do with all my clients. And so you now know what your revenue goal is, what your lifestyle goal is, and what you're aiming to hit. Great, we've got a starting point. Now we need to have an offer or a service to sell, right? So we need to know that this offer or service can deliver the results and deliver it within the time frame, the scale. Ultimately, we need to know that you can do that with your own capacity as well, right? So your capacity, time is numbers, okay? So we need to make sure that we are utilizing our time numbers. Our offer, how do we make sure that we are actually going to make enough money with this offer? Well, we need to price it. We need to put a price on it, okay? And we can't just slap around a price on it because that might not make us the money that we need to make. And now we're having to sell twice as many, but we don't have the capacity for that. So we need to make sure that there's a bit of maths done there, right? We need to make sure that our offers are priced so that we can make profit. Okay, so that's another number, is our pricing. Okay, and now, so we've got this offer, and now we need to start selling it. Okay, so in order to sell, we need to have an audience. We need people to sell to, right? So you might not need a huge audience, okay? But either way, you're going to need some people, right? You're going to need a number of people, aren't you? Right? Even one is a number, right? Even one is a number. So your audience, the audience growth, the aim in which you have for your audience growth, that is numbers. Then let's say, because I imagine very few people can sell to 100% of people. So, if you get one person, you might not, be able to sell to that one audience member. So let's say you need, 10 people, and out of every 10 people, you sell 1 to 2 spots, right? But you're trying to sell 15 spots. How many people do you need? Yeah, I can't do that either, but at least I know what the question is I'm trying to answer. At least I know what number I'm trying to find out, right? Because if I know what my conversion rates are, numbers, I can work out what my audience needs to be, numbers. You can see where I'm going with this. And in order to grow my numbers, I need to be looking at my my data around that, right? My growth. I need to be understanding what content is working, what content isn't working, what I should double down on, all of that. Analytics, guess what? Numbers, babe. So do you see, right? If you don't do any of that, you are literally, what you're kind of doing is you're actually just winging it. And it's not even, it's so incredibly dangerous, right? To just go to not have an income goal that is actually tied to anything. You're just kind of hoping that you'll make enough money. And you probably won't even actually try and hit that income goal because you don't actually know what your capacity is. So you're just kind of like taking on clients and hoping that you don't burn out, or you are burning out and then burning down your business and then having to either start over from scratch or go get a 9 to 5. So that's capacity. You need to do that. If you don't know what your goal, you don't know what your conversion rates, well, then you don't know what your audience goal needs to be. And so again, you're just kind of like putting information, like you're just posting and hoping, right? Posting and hoping is my least fucking favorite thing. So you're just like, oh, well, I post on social media, like I make content, but it doesn't work. And I'm like, well, how do you know what content to make? How do you know what your like strategy is if you don't know what numbers you're looking for in your business? You don't. So everything, pricing, offers, cash flow, sales, marketing, all of it has numbers. You cannot own a business. I say this with so much love because I want you to do well and I want you to make the money that you want to make. But you need to be realistic, right? We need to be realistic. You need to understand your business. You need to understand your goals. You need to understand how your business hits your goals. You need to understand the numbers, okay? And I think when people hear this, they think, well, because they don't currently know how to do that, they think that it's on them. It's on you to learn your numbers. And so then you go and do all these like courses, listening to podcast episodes like this, watching YouTube videos, doing all of that. And maybe that doesn't help you, okay? Because everyone's learning style is completely different. And also everyone's business is completely different. So listening to just a podcast or just a YouTube channel, or doing just a course, you're not necessarily going to learn what you need to, right? This is why I love working one-to-one and why I've gone back to working one-to-one with people is because everyone's business is completely different. Everyone's goals are completely different. Everyone's belief systems around numbers is completely different. The numbers that everyone needs to track within their pricing, their offers, their cash flow, their sales, their marketing is completely different. And so, of course, when you try and learn a blanket approach, a catch-all approach, you actually just end up feeling more confused, right? And so you need to work with someone who can help you grow your business through the understanding of your numbers. And this is me like on my high horse and being humble as fuck. Like fuck being humble, as the great Stephanie Sword Williams says. I'm fuck being humble, right? I am the only business strategist, I would say this side of the internet, who is a financial expert, who is an expert in the numbers and the money. Okay? Everyone else, right? They can help you with sales psychology. Of course they fucking can. Guess what? I can too. Guess what, girl? Right? Yeah, okay, you're going to work with this business coach and like maybe you'll make more sales, right? Fantastic. Pop off queen. Love that for you, right? Love that for you. When your time with that coach, that mentor in that group program, that mastermind, whatever it is, whatever the fuck you're doing, that I know you did not make a decision to join that strategically because you don't understand your numbers. And so how could you have made that decision? If you don't understand your numbers, any investment decision in your business at the moment is just, again, throwing spaghetti at the walls because you don't understand the numbers. When that ends and then what? And then what? Right? That person is going to potentially help you make more sales and hopefully help you make more money. How do you turn that money in your business to own its pay, to personal savings, to personal debt payoff, to business debt payoff, to a retirement plan? They can't help you with that. So then you have to go hire someone else. You're working with 2 people. And guess what? It feels a bit funny. I'm not the person to be like, oh, like, I feel salesy, it feels icky. Like, I don't feel icky at all. I just find it funny that I even have to say this. Like, I find it hilarious that I have to be like, guys, it's me. I'm who you should be working with. I just find it funny. Because I do, ultimately, I want you all to work with me because I know I'm good at what I do. And I know I can help you with all of these things, right? If you have an offer, like you have a business and like you're already generating money, like maybe you've worked with the coaches, you've done the messaging work, like you can bring in the sales when you like need to, right? But there's consistently inconsistent revenue. Like you're on the revenue roller coaster. When you are going really well, it's great. And then obviously you get booked up and then you stop talking. And then like there's no leads, there's no pipeline. And then you're like, oh shit, what do I do? And because you're not tracking any numbers in your business, nothing is happening strategically. Your audience growth, your social, your marketing, all of that, nothing is happening there strategically. Nothing within your client retention strategy is there. So maybe clients just leave rather than like maximizing client lifetime value. Maybe money is just being reinvested willy-nilly. Maybe you're not paying yourself enough. Maybe you're paying yourself too much. Are you draining your business dry? So you can't actually invest in your business and grow your business? That business coach over there, she can't tell you that, but I can. That business coach over there, she can't help you track your cash flow. She might give you a template. She's going to be like, oh yeah, profit first. I don't even have the word. I don't even have the words because I don't want to slag people off. I don't want to slag business coaches and business strategists off because they are good at what they do. They are good at what they do, which is helping you grow your business. Yes. To a point. Okay. It'll always be to a point. Or you'll always then need to hire someone else to help you with the numbers and the money side of things. And any business coach that recommends profit first at this point, I'm just like, I actually don't regard your opinion whatsoever because it's clearly wrong. Rolling out spicy opinions, that's fine. If you're a business coach and you recommend profit first to your clients, I'm telling you now, you know fucking nothing about money. I feel like I should end it there because I'm clearly going off on rants. But basically, at the end of this episode, you should know that numbers touches fucking everything within your business and within your life. You do not have the luxury of not understanding your numbers. You do not have the luxury of saying, I'm not a numbers person. Calculators exist. We have nowadays, like I know not everyone is, wanting to use AI. I found the best way of using AI is not generative AI. It's not, for art and writing and all those creative endeavors. No. Although I guess some people would argue that coding is a creative endeavor, but it's basically is creating ideas that are in my head. Because like I said, my head is very good at spotting a problem and then being like, this is how I would solve the problem, but I don't know how to do that because I can't code for shit and also I can't do mental maths. So using AI to build tools. The tools that I have built for clients are absolutely insane. And they exist in spreadsheets. They exist in, all of this in my head anyway. So, we don't technically have to use AI, but having AI as a tool to build out resources to help my clients understand their numbers and to make data-driven decisions within their business to grow their business. I have clients at the moment who have been working with me they're on their 3rd month and they are having their highest months in business ever, like since becoming a business owner ever. It's not fucking coincidence. It's because they understand the numbers. They know what they're doing. Okay. As ever, I hope you found this useful. I hope you had a laugh listening to this episode. Genuinely, if you've listened to this episode and you've had a laugh with me, do let me know. And yeah, I will see you next week. Probably back with more spicy opinions because that's what I'm here to yap about. But if you have anything specifically that you would love for me to talk about on the podcast, it could be anything business, money, offers, sales related. I would love to yap about it. So please. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.